Urban Naxal,
Present, ma'am.
Andolan Jivi,
Present, ma'am.
Dimagi Naxal,
Present, ma'am.
Anti-National,
Present, ma'am.
Tukde Tukde Gang.
Present, ma'am.
Thanks to our dear Prime Minister
Friends,
and many of his ardent supporters, we've enriched the vocabulary over the years. Modi himself gave us Dimagi Naxal and Andolan Jivi. The filmmaker who believes facts are not facts.
Who said facts are facts?
That's right, it's the great Vivek Agnihotri who gave us Urban Naxals. Sudhir Chaudhary took a break from his astounding journalism to give us Tukde Tukde Gang. The term Dimagi Naxal has been instantly lapped up by friendly media and supporters, with the media even queuing up to ask, Mantri ji, ye Dimagi Naxal hai kaun? People have responded with humor. Some have made Venn diagrams. And there's already a social media handle called Dimagi Naxal Party. While humor is definitely a good way to respond to this venom, we must also be cognizant of the dangers and understand that this is not just rhetoric. It's the vocabulary of political suspicion, the latest category of people whose minds are supposedly dangerous. And the dog whistle is that they must be identified and isolated. But here's the question. Who qualifies according to Modi? What have they done? Where is the evidence? And where does legitimate criticism end and Dimagi Naxal begin? Modi does not specify. This ambiguity is deliberate. What Modi has implied and the call for action that he's given is not just dangerous, but plain malicious. Let me explain.
हथियारी नक्सल तो गए, लेकिन दिमागी नक्सल, ये दिमागी नक्सल, इन दिमागी नक्सलियों को
When power starts labeling people instead of answering them, staying silent is not an option. Support journalism that questions power and refuses to be bullied into silence. Get 6 months of independent journalism for just 1,947 rupees and become part of a community that believes facts do matter. 6 months of the News Minute subscription for just 1947 rupees. Scan the QR code and subscribe today. Don't let the loudest labels become the last word. If you accuse someone of being an armed insurgent or a Naxal, there should be something concrete behind that accusation. Their actions, their associations, or evidence of what they've actually done. But Dimagi Naxal is different. Now, you're not really talking about what someone has done. You're talking about what they think, what they believe, and who they're supposedly influenced by. And that brings us to a broader political technique. Take a complicated group of people who disagree with you, maybe for completely different reasons, and give them one threatening name. And tada, you've created an enemy. We've already seen this with Urban Naxal. The idea was to take the Naxal out of the forest and put him inside cities, in universities, journalism, activism, civil society, and public debate. And the important thing about a label like this is that it doesn't necessarily have to prove anything. We've seen this clearly around the Bhima Koregaon arrest in 2018, when activists, lawyers, and intellectuals were arrested. A major political argument followed over the evidence and the state's allegations. But once a label like Urban Naxal becomes established, the questions then change. Instead of asking what exactly has this person done, you start asking, why are you defending them? And that is the real power of the label. It doesn't have to convince everyone that someone is guilty. It just has to make association with that person politically dangerous. Look, this isn't a new political technique. Think about McCarthyism in 1950s America. Senator Joseph McCarthy accused people of being communists or communist sympathizers, most often without solid evidence. But the accusation itself could be devastating. You didn't necessarily have to prove that someone was a communist. You just had to make people afraid of being associated with one. And Mao's China gives us an even darker example. During the anti-rightist campaign, intellectuals and critics were classified as rightists. It became a political identity that could determine how that person was treated. The times and systems were different then. But you see, the basic political mechanism is still the same. Once political power creates a category of people who are supposedly an internal enemy, suspicion itself becomes very powerful. And we've seen this vocabulary grow in India year after year. Urban Naxal, Andolan GV, Tukde Tukde Gang, Ghuspetia, Khan Market Gang, Muslim League Maoist Congress. Building a solid evidence-based argument against someone takes time. So the Prime Minister, who has no time to spare, just creates labels, because that takes just 1 second. And once the label sticks, that is often what people will remember. Which brings us back to Dimagi Naxal.
ये दिमागी नक्सल
Now, Dimagi Naxal moves the suspicion into a person's mind. You don't have to carry a weapon. You don't have to belong to an organization. You don't even have to do anything that can be identified as a crime. The accusation can simply be that the way you think is dangerous. And that is why the word Dimagi matters. Because who decides when a political opinion becomes a dangerous thought? The Prime Minister, the police, a television anchor, a party spokesperson, or even a social media mob. Once you create the category, everyone can start policing it. And you can see how this works with something as ordinary as a student protest. Say a student says, I have questions about how the government handled this examination. That is a political argument. You can answer it. You can say, here's the data, here's why we made this decision, here's why we think the student is wrong. But you can also take a completely different route. You can just say, these students are being manipulated. They're Dimagi Naxals. Someone is behind them, someone is poisoning their minds. And suddenly, you're not talking about the examination anymore. We're talking about the student. Who are they? Who are they loyal to? Who is influencing them? When students raise uncomfortable questions, you have two choices. You can engage with the questions, or you can just write them away. Surely, writing them away is easier, because that allows young people to be categorized as those who can't be politically mature. And when you discredit a person, you don't have to answer them anymore. Just say Dimagi Naxal.
इन दिमागी नक्सलियों ये दिमागी नक्सल
The consequences of a prime minister using this kind of language goes beyond political rhetoric. Political language doesn't always stay with the person who first uses it. It travels. Party leaders, workers, television anchors, influencers, and social media accounts will all keep repeating it till people start believing it to be true. Eventually, people also start using the label themselves, sometimes without even remembering where it came from. And then the label becomes an atmosphere. We've seen how dangerous that can be. Student Neha Bora was attacked for supporting Umar Khalid. The attacker viewed Umar Khalid as an urban Naxal. Now, every person who uses a label does not become violent automatically. The point is that once you repeatedly tell people that certain individuals are enemies of the nation, the distance between political disagreement and personal hostility can become very small and very narrow. Gauri Lankesh and M.M. Kalburgi were also subjected to vicious ideological abuse and branded by sections of the political ecosystem as anti-Hindu, anti-national, or urban Naxals. Again, the language matters. Because once somebody is turned into an enemy, you don't listen to them in quite the same way. You start looking at them as a threat. And that brings us to the most important part of the story, the Red Fort speech. Because Modi, remember, is not just any other political commentator who's shouting on television day after day, night after night. When the Prime Minister speaks from the Red Fort on Independence Day, millions of people are listening. So when the Prime Minister says that a category of people need to be identified and isolated, We shouldn't simply wave it away as yet another colorful Modi phrase. Because the words matter, the platform matters, and the repetition matters. A political disagreement becomes an identity. The identity becomes a suspicion. And the suspicion becomes a question of national loyalty. That is the political culture that these labels create. And frankly, that should worry people who support Modi as much as people who oppose him. Because political labels, you see, have a nasty habit of outliving the people who actually invent them.